Okay, we're going to get started. So today I am showing you the impossible card fold. I showed this on my last video just to show you what it looked like. And what happens with this card, there's a couple cuts that we make. And this actually flips like this. And then this pops open like an easel card. So this is called an impossible card fold. I'm not sure because it is possible. Hi Debbie, hi Debbie, 2 Debbies in a row, neat. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little different this time. I'm going to give you some of the measurements and then as we go, I'll explain the other ones. I'm also going to have a pattern for you guys to make it easier for you guys to make this card. What you'll have to do is wait until the video is done so I can go edit the video and add the link because I can't add it as it's live. And we're going to use different colors for this one. I'm going to use rich raspberry, 5.5 by 4 1/4. So this is the regular size of a card. When I first saw this card, I thought it was huge, but it's not. It's the same size as our normal cards. We're going to need Whisper White for stamping. Designer paper 4 by 3 1/4. I'm going to show you this paper in a second. And then I can't remember where this one is. Oh, right here. This is the layer that goes with the designer paper, 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. There's a lot of little pieces in this, but it comes together quite easily. Now we have this layer, which is your sentiment layer right here. And that's 3 1/4 by 1 7/8, 3 inches by 1 5/8. And then the smaller sentiment right here, 2 3/8 by 1 1/2, 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. Now the stamp set that I'm using is a new one that you will find in the annual catalog. It's called Rooted in Nature. It's beautiful. I especially love this wooden piece here. It's got leaves and trees, a little bit of everything in nature. And then we have the Nature's Roots Framelits dies. We actually have 3 leaves that do some embossing, which is really nice. Once you emboss, you then use the outlined ones to cut these out. So it's a really nice set. I'm going to be using 2 new ink colors today. Let me just organize myself. We're going to use Rich Raspberry, which is a current color. And then we're using Grapefruit Grove and Call Me Clover. These are the new style ink pads. Hi Wendy, hi Julie, hi Carol, hi Kelly, hi Kathy. So glad to see you guys. Okay, so for those of you guys just chiming in, I am going to put a link so you guys can print this. This will make it so much easier for you guys to make this card. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is do all of the scoring and the cutting. We're going to score at 2 1/8, so that's directly in the center. And then we need to score, you can do this 2 ways depending on what you have for a cutter. Because our cutter has the 1 inch on the right hand side, I'm going to move over to the 1 inch and then cut up to the fold line. And then I'm going to flip it over and do it again at 1 inch. If you don't have a cutter like I do, you would have 2 cuts, one at 1 inch and one at 4 1/2 inches. Okay, so we've got these 2 cuts. Now we're going to flip this over and cut at 2 3/4 inches. And again, up to the score line. So you go up to the score line on that one and the same on those 2. That's it for cutting and scoring for now. Now, This is where the magic happens when you fold in opposite directions. This is where your little the little pop-up happens. But first, let's get going on the other pieces. Now, what I have included is you'll need to cut these out just so that you don't have to turn around and have to measure everything. When you do cut these out, this is the size paper you're going to need. Let me get those again. So let me put this down. Layer number 1, the 4 by 3 1/4 is this one. And layer 2, 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 is this one. What I've done is I've cut these out and I'm using them for templates. So I've got that one and then I've got the larger one. This is just my way of simplifying it for you. If you have an easier way, it's up to you. So I'm just going to lay this on the cardstock. And to me, by doing it this way, you're also, you're not wasting anything because you're actually using the same piece of cardstock and they're just butting up against each other. So that makes it easy. So the only thing you're losing is this little section right here. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And you can either do it by hand or use a paper cutter. I'm usually pretty steady, so I'm using just my scissors. And then this one, it doesn't matter if you see the pencil lines because you can flip it over. Okay, so that's gonna go like this. Oh, wait a minute. I get it wrong. Maybe you can't flip it over. Yes. Well, no, you can't. I'm trying to make up my mind here if you can or not. No, you can't because the legs have to face a certain way. So you do have to erase your pencil lines. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the designer paper. You could actually flip these upside down and do it on the other side, but I don't want to confuse myself, which I almost just did. So again, I don't know if this is the easiest way. This is my way of doing it. And if you find that your designer paper is too dark, just use washi tape to hold it in place. So you should have 4 pieces when you're done. And I would save these for future cards to use as templates. What I usually do is put this in a plastic sleeve and then I stick this in there and I file that in a book that I keep all my patterns. Okay, so now let me just fold everything on the score lines. I think I'm doing this backwards. Okay, it goes this way. And now we're going to glue down the designer paper. And you could actually do this 2 ways. You can put the colored paper first, or you can put the designer paper first. I'm just switching it out this time just to be different. And I am going to show you what this designer paper looks like when I'm done. It's beautiful. So there's your 2 layers. So again, when this flips flat, you just see one side. Again, we're going to lay down the designer paper. And then this layer. Now, one thing I want to mention before I forget If you don't like the way this opening looks, I created the card exactly like I've seen it. Instead of cutting this sentiment short like I did, you could run it across this way. So it goes all the way across so you don't have such a big gap there in the middle. Okay, now let's see. Now we're going to glue this piece in the center. And I should stop and show you the designer paper I'm using. This is called Nature's Poem. It's going to be available in the annual catalog. All of the pages have leaves on them on one side. This is the one I'm using. And then if you flip them over, this is like a woodsy pattern. Another one with leaves. These are ferns. I love this one. This one is the striped one that I used on the other card. And then this one has a little bit of texture. Now, did you guys know that on the back of the designer paper, there's always a listing of the colors right here so you can coordinate your cardstock? I just thought I'd mention that in case somebody's missed that. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of stamping. New ink pads, you don't have to slide, you just pull up and slide once. Pull up and slide once. Now I'm going to do one large leaf. And this is the grapefruit. Rich raspberry. And then I'm doing two of these. And one leaf. Now let me move this aside so we can cut using the dies. And I am going to cut several of these at a time. I just got to figure out which direction here. So as you can see, we're not doing a 10-minute card today. You guys are going to be with me a little bit longer. I'm using washi tape to hold these in place just so I can cut quite a few at a time. There's the second leaf. So we just need to cut out one more leaf. And that is, whoops, this one here. I just love all these leaves. If you guys know me well, butterflies and leaves are always my favorite. Anything to do with nature. Okay, now we're going to stamp the sentiment upside down. And then the larger sentiment. I love this font, isn't that pretty? Okay, now all we have to do is glue the pieces in place. I hope you guys are gonna try this card. I would love to see what you come up with, because of course you don't have this paper yet. I just need to rub that in that you guys don't have this yet. So it'll be interesting to see what you come up with pattern paper. And this one, I'm going to add a stamping dimensional. Okay, so that's that layer. And then we need to glue this to the grapefruit layer. And I opted to glue this one even with this side. And we're also going to add Stampin' Dimensionals to that one. I've got ink right here. Let me hold off because I know I'll get it all over my card. I usually do. Okay, this is going to go right on the edge. And this one is your center panel. This is your little easel portion of your card. And then all we have left to do is to glue the 2 leaves. So we'll put one right there. Doesn't that green look good against these 2 colors? I love the way that pops. Now, one thing, if you're adding something close to the easel, the first time I did my leaf on this one, it was interfering with that staying up in the upright position. So just be careful where you put the leaf or whatever it is you're gluing in place. So as you can see, I used the designer paper as my first layer on this one and then the cardstock. On this one, I did the cardstock and then the designer paper. So you can mix it up the way you want. You could always add a little bit of bling also. And then for mailing, you can either mail it flat like this, but someone may not know what to do with this. So as far as for me, I think I would just mail it this way. So that way when they slide it out of the envelope, this will pop up automatically and then they'll know that that's an easel card. So that's my card for today, the Impossible Card Fold. And as you can see, it is possible. And if you have any questions, just message me. And thanks for all the likes and thanks to everybody that shares all my videos. And just give me a couple minutes to add the link to the pattern so you guys can go ahead and print that and use that for a template. Thanks so much for visiting with me on a Sunday. Goodbye.